Hey everybody, Hexlex here, coming at you with yet another Master Duel video. So in this one, we are still on day 1, or rather the first 24 hours of Season 2, but as you might notice by the emblem I've got here, and probably by the title as well, I managed to hit Platinum already. So we've made our way all the way through the Gold ranks in just day 1 of the new season. I've been doing it with, as you may have guessed, my Tri-Brigade Zoodiac deck. Still the exact same build from my previous video, the deck profile, the update rather to the deck profile that I did. And yeah, I mean, it's like I've just been having a large amount of success with the deck. I've been hitting win streaks very frequently, usually about 5 or 6 wins at a time. And I pulled some replays to share with you guys. Without further ado, let's go ahead and take a look at those. If we go to replays here, and as you can see from the date and time, these are all in fact within the first 24 hours of Season 2. I did actually include a loss here. We can even go ahead and start with that. This was actually a pretty decent back and forth that I had with Drytrons that, yeah, no, in this game in particular, I thought I was going to come out on top a couple of times, and yeah, no, like I said, it was a good back and forth, so let's go ahead and get right into it. I don't recall if I think I went first, if I'm remembering this hand right, because I'm pretty sure I opened with Tenki. Yep, we're going to go ahead and use this to look for Fractal. They're going to respond with Max C here, again with the interesting Max C timing. I noticed that's, yeah, I see the Max C's come down at the beginning of the Tri-Brigade combo a lot, when I think they could come down later in pretty much any circumstance, right? If we're going to special summon Chaos, that's an activated ability. If we're going to use a Tri-Monster to special summon, that's an activated ability. Ferrogy is an activated ability. We don't really link summon much outside of using our Tri-Monsters. You could chain Max C to the normal summon of a Zoodiac, right? If you wanted to chain, get Max C off the Xyz summons, so... Really, in my opinion, there is no reason to chain Max C to, like, Tenki, Fractal. You can just wait for an effect where your opponent's going to special summon. I find that to be generally good advice for Max C, well, in general, is that you typically, unless you know your opponent has to commit to a special summon play based on whatever they're doing, you typically want to wait until they're, like, activating an effect that's special summoning. Now, this does cause you to miss out on some summons, but, you know, it's like I said, it's a general rule of thumb, but it's not meant to be used in every single situation. If we're playing against, like, Cybers, for example, and we think we're about to get, you know, if we see them add Cyber Dragon, and we know we're about to get Chimera Tech Mega Fleeted, we can go ahead and drop Max C in response to them adding a Cyber Dragon. And I mean, like, actual Cyber Dragon, the one that specials itself. So our opponent does have a lot of cards for a Drytron deck, which is really scary, but they don't seem to have really gotten many plays off on their first turn here. I'm going to go ahead and Shurig into their monster, their Xyz monster. Actually, I don't remember what its name is. Beta Fafnir. We're going to go ahead and Shurig this in this scenario, just so we don't lose our Chaos here necessarily. Our opponent is going to have the Orange Herald in response, but that does at least take resources away from their hand. And as you can see, because of the way we chain blocked, the Orange Herald actually hit the kit and not our Shurig, and that's why the order that you put these effects in are so important. I specifically put kit at the end of the chain link here so that my Shurig would not get hit with something like an Orange Herald, which did end up happening. But unfortunately, our opponent is going to get to summon Herald of Perfection, which is a huge slog to deal with. Now here we have Shurig. I'm going to start with Impertinence to go ahead and try to get the first negate, but our opponent's got the Eva, which is so annoying. Like, I can see why Eva got banned in the TCG. Like, there's so many games that would have been so manageable if it weren't for Eva. And because this is the thing, right? Eva's always going to get Orange Herald and the Diviner of Heralds, which is instantly a negate and also potentially a setup for your opponent's next turn in one card. So I definitely see why Eva got banned in the TCG. Kind of hoping it happens here eventually too. Yeah, I don't know. Drytrons is like one of those decks where, like, I'm really not the biggest fan of playing against them. Like, people complain about Eldritch a lot, but generally speaking, I'd probably... Well, actually, I don't know. Now that I have Nibiru's in my deck, I probably would actually rather play against Drytron, wouldn't I? Oh, yeah, here's the crazy thing. In all my games up to getting Platinum, I never got a chance to activate Nibiru. There were a couple of games, I don't remember if any of them are the ones shown, there were a couple of games where, like, I have Nibiru as, like, insurance, where it's like, oh, it's good that I have this in case my play goes wrong, but in no game did I have Nibiru when my opponent, as you can see, Nibiru would have been great here. In no game that I played did I actually have Nibiru while my opponent was doing a lot of summoning, so... I don't know. Yeah, you know, there's a part of me that's like, oh, did I waste my Ultra Craft points? But there's another part of me that's like, you know what, it's just variance. And that's another important thing to keep in mind so that we don't succumb to, like, ladder fatigue or tilting, is that variance is going to happen. We might have, like, 20, 25 games in a row where we don't get to use Nibiru, but that doesn't mean we won't have, like, 3 games in a row where Nibiru wins us, you know, potentially next. Like, it's just variance. And... if you think to yourself, like, because there are a lot of players, I think, who, in this circumstance, would get really frustrated and take Nibiru out of the deck after having not, like, gone as far as I have, and not had a chance to use it yet. But, I really think this, but it's far too small of a sample size. Even this climb from gold up to platinum tonight, like, even that is far too small of a sample size to make these, to base these decisions on, you know? And that's why I said in my, like, how I reached Plat 1, my gameplay tips video, that's why one of the tips I made was like, oh, you don't want to, like, obviously we don't want to stick to one list the whole time. We want to be thinking about differences we can make, but we don't want to be, like, changing cards out, like, frequently. You know what I mean? Like, I honestly would probably not think about switching my current build until I am at or close to Plat 1, to be quite frank. Like, I'll continue with this build all the way up through Platinum that I've used in Gold here. Because, I mean, one, it's taken me this far, right? And everyone who is in Gold tonight was in Plat 1 or high Plat ranks, likely. I mean, I'm sure there are some people who really just grinded that were in Gold last time that are improving and getting better cards. But a lot of the people that were playing were in high Platinum ranks, if not Platinum 1 as well. So, and once we get to Platinum 1, you know, as we know now, we can't de-rank from Platinum 1 anymore, which is awesome. That means we get to be a lot more experimental with not only the decks that we're playing, but the builds that we're using as well. Yeah, this is... I know I said in the description of one video that, like, oh, this is a full Drytron combo and we played through it, but no, this right here, what my opponent's doing, is, like, more of a full Drytron combo, right? And here we're left with, like, this sliver of hope where we're like, oh, our opponent's only got 1 card left, but again, we have to remember that it's Eva, which is unfortunately going to allow my opponent to get even more cards. But if I recall correctly, I don't concede just yet. I'm actually going to go ahead and fast forward, because from what I recall, the rest of the duel is just pretty much me taking damage, and then I try to Lightning Storm, and I try to do a top deck, but my opponent's just going to get, like, another Herald or something out, and I'm just not going to be able to... Oh, yeah, they go into the... Oh, I think I get gamed this turn, actually. Because isn't this where they go into... Or no, I thought I activated the Lightning Storm. I guess we'll see, but... Yeah, I noticed we're already up to, like, 8 minutes, and we're still in this first game. But, yeah, this is why I wanted to show this game, even though I lost it. This was a pretty intense back and forth, and if you've ever wanted to see what Drytron, like, can fully do, you know... But again, I think this also kind of speaks to the tenacity of this deck, right? That, like, we're still in a scenario where we might possibly have a hope, you know? I mean, realistically, we don't. We kind of knew our opponent had another fairy there, and we're just going to concede here. Especially because we have the tank. Yep, I forgot we can't even Lightning Storm, but, you know, even that far behind, there is still a chance that we can come back, yeah, you know, at the end of the day. Now, I believe this next game is actually also against Drytron, so I actually might go ahead and throw this one and fast forward too, and just in the interest of not making this video, like, too long, and I mean, it's Drytron. This is why I said this is one of the reasons I would, like, almost rather play against Eldelich than Drytron, is because Drytron just, like, takes so long. It looks like we get to go first here. We're going to get the Fractal. Our opponent's going to have the Ash, which is a little bit annoying, but we at least have the kit for a backup play. And this is why I said in the updated deck profile video that I was hesitant to cut a 3rd copy of kit, because kit really does come in a lot of handy in scenarios like this. Like, not only in bricky hands where you open kit and, like, a random tri-type you can't do anything with, but, like, you see here we had the Fractal, and yeah, this is Drytron again. So, yeah, I think I will kind of... Well, you know what? I won't throw it in fast forward just yet. Because, yeah, this is why I like 3 kit, you know, honestly, it just gives you more options, more variety in plays, and more ways to play through hand traps, which is, again, another strength that I think is what makes Zoodiac Tri-Brigade my favorite deck to ladder with, is, like, just the sheer tenacity and versatility of it. You can play going first. You can play through hand traps going first. You can play going second. We can stop our opponent going second. We can respond to an opponent's board going second. We could be playing against Eldritch going second. They could set 5, and we still have stuff like Lightning Storm and Harpy's Feather Duster. You know what I mean? This deck is just, I think, in one of the best positions to take on specifically the best of one ranked format here in Master Duel. Ah, yes, I remember this duel now. I am going to throw it in fast forward here. But our opponent's going to go into IP what is it? Masquerina. Okay. Yeah, I've never actually... This is the first time I've ever had this card summoned against me. I think this card used to be a lot better under Master Rule 4. But our opponent's going to go into a Union Carrier on our turn, which I don't really understand. I assumed Union Carrier was going to be a quick effect, and they were going to equip Eva or something. But then I realized, like, oh wait, no, it isn't a quick effect. I don't particularly know why my opponent went into it. Maybe, I mean, I'm not a Drytron player, and maybe there is a reason that I'm just not aware of. But, you know, we had the Fractal and we had the Tenki, so we're able to go into some follow-up plays pretty easily, even though we got stopped on our first turn. I think I kind of misplayed here a little bit, if I remember right. Oh no, it was that I ended up using Bear Bum's effect. That's right, because I wanted to get out, is it an Appalachia that I summoned here? No, it's just a Rugal, okay. Huh. I feel like maybe I did misplay there. Like, I could have made a more, like, maybe a board that did less damage, but was, like, more optimal in terms of, like, negates and stuff, but we are going to be able to make a 4 materials use in any case, so, you know how it is. It's still going to end up being fine either way. Yeah, and when our opponent activates the Benten here, I see them add the Herald of Perfection. This is where I'm going to Rugal to get Shurag. I'm going to banish this so that my opponent isn't able to use the Drytron Ritual spell to get the Herald of Perfection. And our opponent's going to concede from there. Okay, next duel looks like this is a fairly short one. Since I have so many replays to show in this video, I'm not going to look at my opponent's deck profiles. In the interest of, again, not making the videos too long here. I like to keep them somewhere between 20 and 30 minutes typically. Usually closer to 20 minutes ideally. Was this our game? No, that was way earlier in the night. I did actually play against Dark Magician. Like the deck, not just like I saw my opponent's dual partner here is what made me think of it. But yeah, I did play against the Dark Magician deck. I don't think I have that replay though, because from what I remember, it was kind of uneventful. But yeah, we've got the Called by the Grave. Why did I forget what that card is called? Called by the Grave. We have the Called by. We're able to banish the Ash in response to our Fractal, so we're able to go into plays here, and we've got a Maxi and an Ash of our own. So, you know, I'm not particularly concerned with, you know, this game, honestly. When even a standard Tri-Brigade combo like this goes uninterrupted, usually I'm feeling pretty confident after the end of things. Really, as long as I have an active Revolt down. And I think we're actually going to see an example of a game where I have to make a weird play to go out of my way to make a Revolt live. So here, you know, karma is as karma does, and we have the Ash, but they also have the Called by. Hey, it's going to happen to them. It's going to happen to us, too. That's alright. And here we see we're actually playing against the mirror match here. Our opponent's going to go into their own Fractal from here. And they're going to send the kit. There's not a whole lot we can do. They actually send the Tri-Brigade spell, which I think I've seen some builds playing this card. Which is interesting. I don't really think it's good. To be quite honest, I really don't think it's a good card. I don't really understand. Or maybe it's, I know there's another Tri-Brigade spell. Maybe that's the one that people tend to use, and this my opponent here is just playing this random spell. I wouldn't play this spell. Whatever this spell is, what is it called? Tri-Brigade Rendezvous? I honestly would not play this card. Here, again, we're chain blocking just because the effect we're really trying to get is Shurag to banish the Nerval, so our opponent isn't able to use Nerval's effect to summon a Tri-Brigade or a Link monster, and that's going to lead to us winning from their concession there. Alright, going on up the list, let's go ahead into the next replay. You know, I'm actually thinking of what decks I want to build once I get to Plat 1. I currently have 90 Ultra Rare Craft Gems, so I'm able to craft 3 Ultra Rares. If you guys have suggestions for decks, particularly ones that don't cost many ultra rares outside of staples, I do have a lot of staples like hand traps and stuff. Feel free to suggest it in the comments. I'd be happy to take a look at it. I can't make any promises, but I'm definitely on the hunt for new decks to try out once we get up to Platinum 1. For sure. And honestly, I'm probably going to hold off on playing Sky Strikers again until I get to Platinum 1 and can't derank, because the deck is fun and I really, really enjoy it. However, I really do also need to improve. Actually, you know what? No. The Sky Striker video is going out before this one. I was trying to remember the order in which these videos are going out, but yeah, so my Sky Striker deck, I really do want to keep practicing at it, improving at it, getting better with it. But again, just with my current skill level with the deck, I'd much rather wait until I can no longer derank to start practicing. Yep, so we can put back Tenki pretty easy. You might be wondering, like, why didn't we put back Lightning Storm? Because we have monsters on the field. I like to have the Lightning Storm as backup just in case things, you know, kind of go catastrophically wrong. And besides, like I said, we're not going to really need the Tenki because we get the Revolt set up, which means we're going to get a Search with Nerval. So we're going to get Fractal, which is about the only thing we get with Tenki anyway. I mean, we could get a Zoodiac monster, but, you know, if we have cards on the board, we're also really not trying to go into Zoodiac plays, because obviously we're not trying to Zeus our own board, right? Here we're going to flip Revolt in response to Harpy's Feather Duster, because obviously we want to get some effects, even if we can't get banish anything with Shurig. But interestingly enough, you might notice we actually have Rugal out. And if you have Rugal out during your opponent's turn when you flip Shurig, you can still use Rugal's special summon to trigger Shurig's banish effect. Our opponent's playing Dragoonides, my first time playing this against this deck in a while, although we didn't get to play against it for very long. I was a big fan of Dragoonides when the first structure deck came out. I think there's still... I don't know how many Dragoonides structure decks there are, but... wait, was this opponent the one we just played? Hang on, let me look here. No, okay, this is, oh, this is Live Live. I didn't even realize I'd played against this deck. Huh. I'm interested to see how this replay is going to go. It's really short, so they probably just concede pretty quickly, but... I didn't even realize I'd played against Live Live. I'd been curious about that deck. Oh, but yeah, going back to what I was saying about Dragoonides, yeah, I played that deck a lot when the first structure deck came out, and I think I topped a regional with it. I'm pretty sure I did. I know on my old YouTube channel I had videos of it, but I don't even think those videos are around anymore. So you can see with this hand, we did open the Karos, and we have a kit as well, so that actually leaves us with quite a few options as far as our opening kit play is going to go. You know, kit into Almirage and Nerval. We're going to be able to add Fractal. Normally we would add Karos, but we already opened with Karos. We're going to discard the Thoroughblade in order to special Karos in order to get a Ferrigide off. That's going to let us summon Fractal and actually let us go into a fairly hardy combo. We're going to be able to end with an Appalachia, and I believe we're going to put back the Ash because I want to keep Appalachia with Revolt and Max C. Since we already have the Negate, we don't necessarily need to keep the Ash here. But first, you know, obviously we're going to have to set up our Bear Brum so that we can search for the Revolt, and yep, from here we go into Appalachia. Once again, a relatively standard play. I believe one I've actually specifically showed off in the combo video. Oh yeah, this game. Our opponent, interestingly, has an Ash right at the end for the Bear Brum. Even though I played Appalachia, this is the second time in a replay now where my opponent ashes at the very end. They ash the Bear Brum, and I don't know why they wait. If they had ashed much sooner, like, I would have been screwed. But even specifically in this case, they ash while I have an Appalachia up. And then, yeah, they just conceded, okay. I think that's why they conceded, is they kind of realized their misplay. Which, again, maybe they had a good hand. Maybe they just should have played it out, you know? Who knows? Okay, cool. Yeah, we only got 2 more replays left, it looks like. We can go ahead and dive right into this one. I guess we have more time left over than I thought we would. Maybe I didn't need to fast forward those other games, but, okay, so this is the pure variant of Zoodiac, or not Zoodiac, Tri-Brigade. So I thought about getting into this build when I first started getting into the deck, but the thing is, like, I don't know, the Rescue Cat is nice. It lets you get Chaos and or Kit, but I'm not... I feel like it's too easily disrupted, right? And also, by not playing the Zoodiacs, I mean, look at the extra deck in particular, right? Like, do we really need 3 Ferrigide, 2 Bear Brum? I mean, we have a Decode Talker. 2 Rugal. I mean, this guy's got a Sand Dune in here. I mean, I'm sure this is just a filler spot. And I'm not trying to come across like I was shitting on this guy's deck. That's really not where I'm trying to come from. I'm just saying the only reason I'm pointing out the extra deck is because there's so much room for the Zoodiac cards in here, and we only need to commit 3 main deck spots. That's why I really like playing Zoodiac Tri-Brigade over the pure variant. But in any case, we're going to go ahead and jump right into this replay. This one's 5 turns? I'm actually trying to remember. Funnily enough, this is one of the more recent games, and I actually don't know if I remember exactly. I mean, obviously I can see that I won. I'm just trying to figure out how it played out, you know? Okay, the Imperial Order makes me think this looks a little familiar. Okay, we're going to get to go first. Looks like we Tenki into the Fractal. Obviously, we're going to set up a Fractal play, and our opponent's going to Ash here. Again, not really sure why they waited to Ash the Fractal. I guess they wanted me to commit activating Fractal's effect. Maybe they thought if they Ashed a Tenki, I might be baiting with a Fractal already in hand, which should be fair. I've made that play before, but I don't know. Like, it still sets up an extra Tri-type in my graveyard, which is going to let me go into more plays. So I think Ashing Tenki is pretty much always right. I'm sure there are scenarios where it's not, but I feel like there are far more scenarios where it is right to do. On turn 1 like this, I mean specifically. But yeah, our opponent doesn't look like they have really any more disruption, so we're just able to go into more standard Tri plays. And it looks like we're actually going to do the Appalachia again. We did get Nibiru here, but I think I actually ended up shuffling Nibiru back and setting the Imperial Order. In fact, I know I do, because I think this is the game where, yeah, okay, so I do make a slight misplay coming up here. One that I tend to think about when I'm playing, but I just slipped up in this case. And yeah, alas, we're going to put Nibiru back. But yeah, I set Imperial Order in the same column as Appalachia. That is a big no-no, because if my opponent had impermanence to negate my Appalachia, that also would have negated my Imperial Order. So definitely don't want to put, I mean, any back row in the same column as your monster ideally, but especially Imperial Order under Appalachia, that was very bad on my part. Our opponent had the MSC anyway, so it didn't really matter in this case. They're going to summon Kit. It was at this point I realized they were a Tri-deck, so I'm like, okay, well, let's look at their graveyard, right? Okay, they don't have any Tri-type set up. I know they're going to try to go into Almirage, because that's what I would do in this scenario. I don't want them to set up, so I'm going to banish their Kit with my Shurag before they can even like get any plays off the ground. Since this play also commits their normal summon, I know they're not going to have really much of a follow-up after this. Also, especially because they only have 2 cards left in their hand at this point. Here we draw into an Ash, which really only sweetens the deal, right? We're going to get to summon Fractal. We're going to get to activate Fractal's effect. Oh, I'm going to go into Harvest. I have no idea how to... Harvestgler? The Eagle. We're going into the Link 3 Eagle, right? And we're trying to attack for a game with its effects, but our opponent actually pretty cleverly chains DD Crow in order to keep our Eagle at 2400 attack and barely survive with 600 life points. I have to admire my opponent's tenacity and playing the game out and not conceding here. I do respect that, because you see they do actually top deck another Kit and are able to go into, well, some amount of plays. At least they would if I wasn't the luckiest person in the world and my last card wasn't Ash. And at this point, there's really not much my opponent can do after this. They only have 1 card in hand, and they have a 0 attack Almirage with no other cards on the board. They're going to set a back row. During the end phase, we're going to go ahead and put their DD Crow back, because it's the worst top deck we could give them. Or rather, the worst of the, between the two of that and Kit. We're going to go ahead and just attack with Fractal, and this ends up being the attack 4 game. So there we go. I would pretty much call that the mirror match. Honestly, there's not a whole lot of difference between pure Tri-Brigade and Tri-Brigade Zoo, but again, I think the options of going into the Zoo variant are very, very important to have. So we've got one last game here. This was the game I just played. This was the last game before the end of my win streak here. Let's go ahead and go into it. Okay, so if I remember right, this was against... Oh, this was the most recent game. You'd think I'd know. It was a really intense back and forth one, too. Our opponent's going to get to go first here. And, this was against Altergeist. That's right. I do end up making a couple of misplays in this game, I remember. But, yeah, our opponent's going to set a bunch of back row with the Melusik. And I happen to open up the Harpy's Feather Duster, which is pretty good here. Our opponent's going to end up using personal spoofing to put back in Altergeist Protocol before we go ahead and destroy their other back rows here. Now we still have a whole bunch of cards in hand. As you can see, we've got the Nerval, Fractal, Desires, Called By, and Revolt, all primed up and ready to go. This is actually another pretty good game that ends up being a pretty decent back and forth here. Now this is like my least favorite card to play against in Altergeist, even more than any of their back row is this Siliquitus. I don't know how to pronounce any of these new cards' names, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, just playing against this card is so annoying because it's able to bounce your cards as a quick effect. Our opponent's going to have Max C, but we have like multiple called bys, so I'm not concerned about any hand traps at this point. We're able to banish that Max C, and honestly, we don't have a Max C of our own. I don't remember if I showed that replay or not. I had a duel. At one point while I was laddering, I did have a duel where, like, I called by my opponent's Max C, and then on the next turn I tried to Max C, and then I realized, like, oh crap, my opponent's not going to be able to, or I'm not going to be able to use this Max C because my opponent, like, or because I negated my opponent's with called by. So here, yeah, our Siliquitus is going to, or our Shurik is going to get bounced by the Siliquitus, but we at least managed to banish it first. We still haven't normal summoned yet, so I get to go into a Zoodiac play here. And this is, I'm remembering what the big misplay was now, and I'm like, just like internally cringing just thinking about it. It's so bad. I mean, we do end up winning, but like, it's a misplay that very easily could have cost me the game, and it was like entirely preventable. It wasn't even like a hedge play. It was just a straight up me being like not playing well. You'll see probably here shortly. I think it's in the next turn or two. But anyway, Chaos is going to send the Meliseek here. And they're going to get... I don't recognize half of these. It's funny, Altergeist is this deck that, like, I've played against it multiple times, but still, every time I play against it, I see new cards from the deck that I haven't seen from any other times I've played. We're going to go into Zeus here. Again, to play around impermanence, we're going to throw Zeus in a column that does not have any of our back row in it, so our back row doesn't get negated. Our opponent has yet another Extravagance, and sure enough, they also have the impermanence here as well. Now, since they activate Impermanence, they get a special Multi-Faker, and because of Multi-Faker, they get to start going into all of their plays. I'm actually going to throw this into Fast Forward, because if I remember right, this... Well, I mean, it took a while when playing physically. Maybe the replay won't be quite as bad, but... yeah, so here's the thing, right? Our opponent's going to go into a 3100 attack monster. What is it? The Hexisia? So here's the thing, right? When this got tributed, I didn't realize this thing's attack lowered. That's why I changed Zeus's effect here. Because I'm like, even though Zeus is negated, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'll just detach the materials. Because, I don't know, I was just desperate. I was like, maybe I missed something and maybe this will activate. But yeah, like I said, I didn't realize my monster's attack had dropped back down to 1500. So suddenly my Zeus is going to live through the turn, which it wasn't going to before. And now I'm like, oh crap, I actually really wanted those materials. And again, I detached the materials, honestly, for no real reason. Which makes the misplay even worse. Oh, it's so bad. It's so bad. Yeah, that's another tip I can, I guess, tell you now from experience. Don't click things just because the game is prompting you to do it. It's just generally not a great idea. It's not a good idea at all. But we do at least get some decent draws off the Max C, right? We get Ash Blossom, we get Infinite Imperm. Our opponent does get to add that stupid level 5 Force Altergeist, which is really annoying because it negates attacks, but... we at least have the Zeus's body. You know, in a perfect world, we'd also have the two materials. Our opponent has a bunch of back row with the Siliquitus, which is really annoying. I'm sure I'm saying this card's name wrong, and I'm sorry if I'm annoying you by saying it wrong, but we at least have the Imperm here in order to negate the effects, which will keep our Zeus on the board. Now here, okay, I debated for a long time of whether or not to summon that Whiptail, and this is why I always leave Borbo in the extra if I don't need it, is for this exact scenario, right? We're trying to attack for game, our opponent negated it, but since we had Borbo specifically, we're able to attack for game with the Whiptail. So we're actually able to come back from our misplay in kind of the most clutch way possible. So that's why I saved that replay in particular, but yeah, okay, wow, we're at half an hour, geez. Yeah, that's about all I've got for this video. Like I said, I don't want this one to be too long, so that's all I've got for you. Yeah, so we're just going to keep on climbing up with the Platinum's ranks with Zoodiac Tri-Brigade. Expect more replays through Platinum, and then, yeah, like I said, once we hit Platinum 1, which I don't think will be too long here, maybe the next day or two, probably 2 if I had to guess, but... yeah, with the next couple of days, we'll get to Plat 1, and then from there, we can start experimenting a little. So guys, thank you as always for watching. I appreciate you so much. This is HexLex signing out. Have a great day.